This idea, it's a very dynamic environment. There's changes occurring. Things are happening, right? We have all of these customer demands, we have all of these customer needs, and we have to deal with them. When you think about this, you think about the world that you live in, the power world you live in. We talked about the commodity side, people say, oh, it's power. No, it's not just power. There are things happening, right? There are things happening in the industry, there are trends occurring. There's a lot of different things happening, and customers want to know. They want solutions, they want answers. They have needs, and we have to be able to help them with that. When we think about that, we talk about the different social styles, we talk about the different personalities. We have to be the chameleon. We have to be able to adapt to the situation. If we walk into every situation exactly the same, with the same piece of value, with the same interaction style, we will be successful a couple times out of 10. But if we can go in and we can change and adapt based on that individual, based on their needs, based on the relationship, based on what's happening, based on their goals, right, we can be a lot more successful. Which superhero? Who is the best at adapting to situations? Who is incredibly adaptive? The blue chick on Avengers. You're thinking of Mystique in the X-Men. Yeah. That would be a good example. Who's the best at adapting?
The Hulk.
The Hulk? He's just mad. He's mad all the time.
I'm always angry.
Batman! Think about Batman. This guy. Think about it. Okay, who is it? First of all, who is Bruce Wayne? Okay? Now it helps that he's a multi-billionaire, right? That doesn't hurt, right? He's very good looking. I mean, good for him. Good job, Batman. Way to be awesome. Okay? Batman, though, he's got a history. His parents were killed and everything. He becomes the world's greatest detective. That's what he goes by. He showed up in Detective Comics 27, and he's deemed as the world's greatest detective. Right? He has no superpowers. He has a lot of money, but he has no real superpowers. How does he defeat villains? What does he do? He does a couple things. First of all, he tries to completely understand the situation. He's searching for information. He's searching for knowledge. He's preparing. He's trying to understand who he's going against, what the situation is, what the challenge is, what's happening. He has the Bat Cave with the Bat computer where he goes back and processes all this information and knowledge, right? So you have this idea of the greatest detective. And then, when he goes into the situation, he changes how he interacts in that situation. He changes how he plays. He changes the environment. He changes the scenario so it's to his advantage to defeat that individual through all the information he gained. And he's got one specific tool. You can see it on him right now. What does he bring? His utility belt. And what's in that utility belt? Everything, right? Everything, right? Grappling gun, got it. Got a new suit, got a car, got it. It's all in there, right? And he loads it up. So he goes in the back cave, he understands the situation, and he changes that utility belt. We always talk about the idea of the tool belt, right? Talking about, oh, you're going to put some in new training, put something in your tool belt, tool shed. We have all these references to tools, right? The reason is so we can adapt to the situation. He's the one doing it. He goes into the situation with that so he can adapt. Now, how do we do that? How do we become more adaptable? Well, there's a few tips. There's a couple things we can do. We talk about this idea of creative problem solving. How do we become creative? Well, we start to communicate. We ask questions, we understand, we start to keep an open line of communication to our customers, to our peers, and to our colleagues. The greatest strength that you have is in this room. You've seen a lot of problems and challenges, but so has everybody else in this room. If you visited 500 or 1,000 customers and analyzing your life, let's look at your number and everybody else's number in there. All of a sudden now we're up to 10,000. There are very few problems or challenges that haven't been solved by somebody in this room. Building and leveraging that network is one of the most powerful things you can do. This idea of emotional intelligence, right? This idea of looking at people, not just social styles, because we talked about that, but looking at how emotional people are and reacting to that. There's an exercise on emotional intelligence, and there's two parts to it. It's A, can I recognize how emotional you are and your needs? And then B, can I respond to it? I consider myself very good at recognizing it, because I can always tell when my wife's upset. I'm very good. When I come home at 3 p.m. she's drinking wine already, I know that things aren't going so well. I'm very emotionally aware. Unfortunately, I'm very bad at the response part of it because I'm a driver. And so I'm going to fix your problem. And you know what? Sometimes she doesn't want the problem solved. right? Sometimes the problem can't be solved. It's about the idea of responding to that person's needs, which I'm really bad at. Rather than shut my mouth and refill her wine and listen, I decide I'm going to start solving problems. And that's when I end up on the couch for the next week, right? So we have to be emotionally intelligent. We have to pay attention to the people around us. We have to have that external focus. And then that last part is learning and leveraging information. Just continuing to read, to learn, to understand what's happening, and to leverage that information during our calls and interaction. Joe talked about insight, that's what it is. The more information and knowledge we have, the better suited we are to adapt to situations. If I've only got one piece of information, that's what I'm going to use on every call. If I've got 20, I get to pick and choose. If I have 100, obviously I can adapt more easily. That's number 3.